Is it Ann or Annie?
Hello, my name is Ann.
Hi, Ann.
Hi. Boy, I miss Madeline when I'm listening to you all. You just go on and on and on, and you let that guy 2 times back just rattle about nothing, and it's boring.
Yeah, she cut him off quick, didn't she?
Here's what I've got to say.
Go ahead.
Instead of fighting with these right-wing Christians, say something interesting, intellectual about atheism. Because, for example, what about the fact that most right-wing Christians don't think that atheists or agnostics or non-believers, whatever category you want to put those people in, have no ethics? For me, that makes me really mad because I'm an extremely ethical person. I have very high compassion and humanity. I have very moral ways of living, and it's not because of Jesus or God. And it really offends me when they assume that if you do not believe in God, that you are not a moral, ethical, compassionate person.
Well, I think to a certain extent they've completely left any authority, anything to do with morality and ethics behind.
Well, I have
because they have this idea.
I don't have to have a moral authority like God or somebody.
Well, it's not just that. It's that I'm a Christian, and
no, he's not. He's pretending to be one for this argument.
I'm a Christian, and you should believe in God because, well, we have the Bible. And if you don't,
I know all that, but I'm talking about.
And if you don't,
instead of putting the argument on their terms.
Well, let me finish though. And if you don't believe, well, hey, I guess you're just going to go to hell. And darn.
Well,
and that's the end of the discussion. If they are going to abandon their argument so easily,
that's not what I said. What I said was, atheists need to be more positive. Instead of always answering goofy questions by Christians or always being on the defensive with this Christian crap.
There are some people who would say that we are.
About how one can live a joyful, wonderful, happy, compassionate, good to your fellow person life without God.
Yeah, some people would say that we already do that. I don't know how many shows you watch. We talk about it on occasion, about how the idea that there's no afterlife makes this life, the only one we know of, the single most precious thing possible, and the best thing you can possibly do is live it as best you can and treat people right the first time.
I think so.
There are plenty of positive things about atheism. We talk about them on occasion. My big thing is that these are things that shouldn't need to be said. We're responding to accusations. The one you talked about being immoral. The Boy Scouts of America do this with regard to atheists and homosexuals. They make the claim, the Boy Scouts of America are trying to portray a positive moral image, and now we're going to exclude atheists and homosexuals. And their justification is that atheists and homosexuals can't possibly be moral. And to them, I say, screw you. There's no evidence that atheists are any less moral than anybody else. They're any less ethical. As a matter of fact, there's good evidence that we may in fact be more ethical and more moral. Because one of the things is, sure, I'm going to disregard the Christian view of sin, and I'm going to ignore specific dictates from them about what qualifies. Whoops, did we lose Ann? Probably. Sorry. I'm going to ignore from them specific dictates about what qualifies from sin, because I don't agree with them. I don't agree that thoughts are a crime. Their book says that thought is the greatest crime possible. There's only one sin that's unforgivable, and that's apostasy, according to Christianity. That's thought crime. That says that if I'm unable to believe it, I've done something worse than genocide, worse than child rape, worse than murder, torture, lying, stealing. I don't believe, and that's the worst thing I can do. Now, there are people who will define apostasy different ways. And they'll say, no, we're only talking about blaspheming the Holy Spirit, which is contributing something God did to something Satan did. Okay, I don't believe in that numbskull either, so obviously I'm not going to qualify. The fact of the matter is, I don't believe it, and I ridicule it. And I would say openly, and have many times, that even if somebody could demonstrate that the God of the Bible was real, there's no way I'd worship him. This guy is a twisted, immoral, just absurd and obscene piece of work. Belief has nothing to do with whether or not you worship.
There's very often those people that say God requires faith, because if there weren't faith, if he just came down and stomped down on Fifth Avenue, everybody and said, "Look at me, I'm real," then everyone would immediately start worshiping. We'd all get down on our knees and say, "Oh my God, God's real," and that's not what he wants. He wants you to willingly come to him. Well, there are a lot of laws in this country that people know for a fact exist and for a fact you get punished for, and yet they still flout them.
There are a lot of chemicals that people know for a fact are likely to kill you, and yet they take them anyway.
Exactly. So just because God comes down and stomps around and proves to me that he's real, if he comes down and says, yes, you read that book over there, and that's right on, that's absolutely me, I'm still not going to worship him. I'll believe he exists, absolutely, but he's still a prick.
But for Ann's sake, we got another caller that I'm going to go to. Somebody remind me. I will take the last minute to be absolutely positive, upbeat positive, before we go.
Okay.